stand, others will take to their feet. If you walk, many will follow. If you speak, the world will listen. If you stand, if you pray, others will fall to their knees. If you love, many will meet Him. By your faith you will move mountains. If you stand, if you stand, others will take to their feet. If you walk, many will follow. If you speak, the world will listen. If you stand, if you pray, others will fall to their knees. If you love, many will meet Him. By your faith you will move mountains. If you stand, oh
Is it enough just to be good, to follow orders and the shoulds? Is it enough to be so cruel? Is it enough just to wait for life to happen as it may? Is it enough to sit and stay? Look at you now. Are you alright with what you see? This ain't what it's supposed to be. Speak my word with your life. Follow me, yes, it's alright. I'm your way, your truth, your life. Speak my word with your life. Follow me, yes, it's alright. I'm your way, your truth, your life. Oh, speak my word. Is it enough not to care just because you are not there? Is it enough to be far and safe? Is it enough to live with ease and not give a damn to others' needs? Is it enough to mind your own? Look around you now. Are you alright with what you see? Is it what it's supposed to be? Speak my word, touch their lives, free them now, yes, it's alright. I'm their way, their truth, their life. Speak my word, touch their lives, free them now, yes, it's alright. I'm their way, their truth, their life. Oh, speak my word. Look around you now. Are you alright with what you see? This ain't what it's supposed to be. Oh, 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 oh. Speak my word with your life. Follow me, yes, it's alright. I'm your way, your truth, your life. Speak my word, touch their lives, free them now, yes, it's alright. I'm their way, their truth, their life. Oh, speak my word, speak my word, speak my word. Oh.
If you stand, others will take to their feet. If you walk, many will follow. If you speak, the world will listen. If you stand, if you pray, others will fall to their knees. If you love, many will meet him. By your faith you will move mountains. If you stand, if you stand, others will take to their feet. If you walk, many will follow. If you speak, the world will listen. If you stand, if you pray, others will fall to their knees. If you love, many will meet him. By your faith you will move mountains. If you stand,
Hello everyone, welcome not to my vlog but to our weekly online School of the Word. So, how are you? How was your week? Perhaps most of you are already preparing for your online class. Some would start this coming Monday, and some still next week. What are the preparations that you are doing? Are you ready? How do you feel? Maybe some of us are feeling excited, some are doubtful, some felt like I'm not yet ready, perhaps some disappointed, no? Well, just last week we were talking about our feelings, no, our emotions. How our emotions and feelings are not something to be afraid of or run away from. But our feelings are our friends. They are our very, very good companions. It is part of us human beings and they are meant to be recognized and accepted. I am my feelings. And we also talk about how our body reacts with different emotions and feelings that we have. So, what is up next? Well, today I want to share with you that we are not only body and feelings. Imagine if our decisions and actions will only be moved by our feelings. We will only go to school when we are happy. We can punch anyone when we are angry. And we will only take care of our body when we feel sick or uncomfortable. And we know that relationships won't last when we feel unloved, when everything is just based on feelings. But the good news is, thanks be to God, because He has given us the beautiful gift of mind. We have the beautiful gift of mind to dream, to decide, to analyze, to weigh options, to imagine, to judge, to hold memories, and to be creative. And with mind having all these capacities, everything seems possible. Wanna be someone? Wanna go somewhere? I remember my cousin telling me when I cannot join a family outing because of my studies. And she would tell me, Ate, don't worry. Just imagine in your mind that you are here and feel like you are here. Oh well, as many say, just think about it and your mind can take you there. While I was preparing these guidelines, I could not help but be amazed of the interesting facts about our human mind. Do you know that according to the research, an average person has around 12,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day? Some of them are old, some are new, and some are repeating thoughts. But what could be those thoughts? Perhaps those thoughts talk about fears, about worries, about dreams, about desires, hopes, disappointment, past experiences, past hurts, could also be faces of the people. And this afternoon, this is what we are going to pray about. I am my mind. I am my mind. But am I aware of the thoughts that comes in my mind most of the time? Which of those thoughts I can and cannot control to enter in my mind? Which of those I entertain and give life to? This is so important to know because our mind is so powerful. We become who we think we are. And this is what is also said in Psalm 23 verse 7. What he thinks is what he really is. We are shaped by our thoughts, our perspectives, and our way of thinking about ourselves, about others, and about many things. A certain thought triggers our emotions and moves our actions. I will give you a very simple example. Imagine that you are out for a walk and you see a dog. Very simple, just see a dog. If you think the dog is dangerous and will bite, of course you will feel scared. So, it's either you will go away from it or just go back home. But if you think that that dog is cute, you will feel calm and perhaps go to the dog and play with it. Right? Well, I will share another example based on my personal experience. In the first week of August, my mother told me that my father is going home already from abroad. At first, I was happy and I was sharing it with my sister happily. But going to sleep on my bed, suddenly a thought came to my mind. What if the plane crashed or he get tested positive with COVID? I started to entertain that thought, and you know what happened? My feeling of joy was replaced by worry, and I started to make plans just in case it would happen. Very tragic. Imagine from joy to worry to anxiety. That's why we need to be aware of the thoughts that we welcome and entertain in our mind. If not, we can be trapped by a negative mindset which can lead us to anxiety, burdening us internally and externally, and even the people around us. Are you experiencing the same challenge in this time of pandemic? Have you experienced the same at some point of your life? When a single thought suddenly affects your mood, your way of seeing yourself, your way of seeing others, and even the world, that you could not help but be anxious to all that comes to your mind? Perhaps it's because you are falling into thinking traps. Do you know what thinking traps is? I was reading one website which talks about this, about mindset, about thinking traps. And that website says that thinking traps are unfair or overly negative ways of seeing things, which may distract us from our goals, which can blur our priorities in life and can affect our mindset. Our mindset is very important because, as one missionary told me, as you think, you do. As you do, you express. And as you express, you believe. So, in this moment, I would like to share with you only some of the thinking traps that we find that are common to the young people of today. And I invite you to look at your life and get in touch with your thoughts and to ask yourself, do I experience this kind of thinking traps? Well, let's get started. The first thinking trap that I find common for us, young people, first is the black and white thinking. This thinking is when we only look at the situations in terms of extremes. For example, things are either good or bad, either success or a failure. There's no something in between. Example, it is each time we think and say, anything less than perfect is a failure. Or, I plan to study, but I check my Facebook in 5 minutes. So my study is all ruined. Like it's either good or bad. It's either I succeed or I fail. This black and white thinking is a trap because in reality, most events call for a moderate explanation, right? So, do you remember an experience wherein you were trapped with that kind of thinking? The second is labeling. Sometimes we talk to ourselves in mean ways and use a single negative word to describe ourselves. For example, I'm stupid, or I'm a loser, I'm a black sheep in the family, I am lazy. No. This is a trap because this kind of thinking is very unhelpful and unfair. Why? Because we are too complex to be summed up in a single word. We are not, our tendency sometimes is to put ourselves in a box. Like, this is me, 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 me. But in reality, perhaps, no, perhaps only in one moment that you were lazy, but it doesn't mean that you are lazy all your life, right? The next is filtering. So this happens when we only pay attention to the bad things that happen, but ignore all the good things. For example, believing that you did a poor job on a presentation because some people looked bored, even though a number of people looked interested and you received several compliments on how well you did. So sometimes when we're doing things, we only like notice what is not good, no, what is bad, and then we conclude that we fail, no, after all. But this filtering is a trap because this prevents us from looking at all aspects of a situation and drawing a more balanced conclusion. Have you experienced? You are not alone. So the next is catastrophizing. So this is when we imagine that the worst possible thing is about to happen and predict that we won't be able to cope up with the outcome. Well, I experienced it, no? I guess, many times. No, it's like, for example, I freak out and no one will help. Or I'm going to make such a fool of myself, everyone will laugh at me and I won't be able to survive the embarrassment. No, it's like very, very tragic, no, thinking. It's like, I felt a rain on my skin and I feel like the rain would drown me. Now, things like that, very tragic way of thinking. But this is a trap because in reality, the imagined worst case scenario usually never happens. And if it did, we are most likely able to cope with it. And the last is the should statements. Well, do you think this is very common, especially to all the millennials out there? This is when you tell yourself how you should or must or ought to feel and behave, even if it's not how you actually feel or behave. For example, when you think that I should never feel anxious or I must control my feelings or I should never make mistakes or I should always do better, I should always do better. Even if your feeling doesn't say so, no? And the result of that is we are constantly anxious and disappointed with ourselves and with the people around us. So, these are some of the thinking traps that we might have. Can you recognize which of those you had before or perhaps you have at this moment? Don't worry, of course, we cannot always be positive and we cannot have positive thoughts always, especially in this time of pandemic, right? But knowing the possible thinking traps that we have can help us to question our thoughts and take care of our mind. As for me, the thinking trap that I recognize in this time of pandemic is the should statements. I realize that I unconsciously put in my mind the thoughts, I should feel just okay, I should not feel sad, I should feel strong. So when I start to see the realities around me and it made me feel sad, my mind was telling me that I should not feel that way, that it's not okay to not be okay. So I started to feel guilty and helpless. But what helps me to be liberated in this thinking trap is prayer. To share it with Jesus and learn from Him how He thinks. I realized that all throughout His life, Jesus never said, I should not feel sad nor anguish. I should not weep. I should not cry because I am the Son of God. No, my dear. Jesus embraced his feelings. He wept when Lazarus died. His heart was filled with pity seeing the crowd hungry. He expressed his anguish and grief in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus embraced the reality of humanity, that it's okay not to be okay, as the song says of Jessie J. It's okay not to be okay. And seeing it in his life and with his grace, I learned that it's normal. It's normal to feel sad and helpless, especially in this time of pandemic. But what matters is I don't stay without feeling, that I could learn to also look on the other side after. And with that, I was able to come out from my thinking trap. And we can see this thinking of Jesus in the Gospel, no, in Matthew 12, verses 1 to 8. This kind of thinking which liberates us from our thinking traps. No? And we can learn this first, no, as I was saying, through prayer. How to think realistically like Jesus. No? Think realistically like Jesus. So what does this realistic thinking mean? Realistic thinking means looking at all aspects of a situation, could be the positive, the negative, and the neutral, before making any conclusion. In other words, realistic thinking means looking at yourself, looking at others, and looking at the world in a balanced and fair way. And as I have said, we can see this thinking of Jesus in the Gospel in Matthew 12, verses 1 to 8. So Jesus was walking through some wheat fields on a Sabbath. And the Sabbath is, we know, a day of rest. It says that his disciples were hungry. So they began to pick heads of wheat and eat the grain. But when the Pharisees saw this, they said to Jesus, "Look, it is against our law for your disciples to eat this on the Sabbath." Well, the issue was not on picking up the grains, but on doing it on a Sabbath day, which we know as a day of rest. So here we can see what is the mindset of the Pharisees. They are trapped with the shoulds and the black and white thinking. Why? Because for them, it's either what you do is against or pro the law, regardless of the reason. For them, it's either a work or a rest. There's no in between. And that in their mindset is to follow the shoulds of the law. You should not work on the day of rest, even if you were hungry. So with these thinking traps, they failed to see the reason why the disciples were doing it. They were doing it not intentionally, to be against the law or to disobey the law, but it's because they were hungry. It's a need for them. And we see how Jesus approached and contrasts the thinking of the Pharisees. First, we see that he questioned their thoughts with the truth, presenting to them a real situation. When Jesus said to them, "Haven't you read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God, and he and his companions ate the consecrated bread, which was not lawful for them to do, but only for the priests. Or haven't you heard in the law that the priests on Sabbath duty in the temple desecrate the Sabbath and yet are innocent?" That means the Pharisees could not just judge the disciples guilty just because of the fact that they were gathering wheats, because they were hungry during the day of rest. And for me, it's like, it's true, Lord. What is the sense of Sabbath, which is the day of rest, if the disciples would feel unrested because of hunger? Isn't it more realistic and more humane thinking? So, I tried to apply this realistic thinking of Jesus in the simple example that I shared earlier where I got worried of my father's arrival. So praying about it, I realized that I was struck with catastrophizing or catastrophic thinking. So in my prayer, I tried to question my thoughts in front of Jesus. And I found him asking me, Ange, what is the basis of that anxious thought? Does that airline where your father would go had a history of accident? Does your father not feeling well this time that you were afraid that he would get positive with COVID? And my answer to him is all, no, there's no history, and he is well. Then Jesus was telling me, what's the sense of assuming the worst then? It's true. I could spend more my energy to a more positive way and invest to my positivity. And from that, I was able to go out of that thinking trap. Okay, going back to the gospel of Jesus, to the gospel, of the experience of Jesus with the Pharisees, we can learn another thing from him. We can learn what is that mindset of Jesus. When he said to the Pharisees, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. And with these words, we can see the mindset of Jesus. We can see his logic. He was very clear with his goal, to proclaim the kingdom of God, which is all about love and mercy, through his own life and preaching. All the decisions in his life, all his thoughts, all his action that he makes, talks about mercy. And what is this mercy? Mercy, perhaps we can have many definitions of mercy, no? But the mercy is that open heart, no? To see myself first and to see the other people and the situations of the world with the gaze of hope, with the eyes of hope. And this is what Pope Francis was saying. He says, mercy is the force that reawakens us to a new life and instills in us the courage to look to the future with hope. Jesus didn't fall into thinking trap because he looks the future with hope. He looks at himself, he looks at with others with hope, with that merciful gaze. And that bad thoughts did not control or determine his mindset. And with that, he could see more the situations of others realistically. These disciples were not disobeying the law because they were hungry. They were hungry. What about you? What is the logic and mindset that leads your life? Perhaps time is gold, or better late than never, or success, however, perhaps perfection, or positivity. Is your mindset helping you? Why or why not? No matter what mindset we have right now, Jesus is inviting us in Romans 12 verse 2. Do not conform yourselves to the standards of this world, but let God transform you inwardly by a complete change of mind. Then you will be able to know the will of God, what is good, what is pleasing to Him, and what is perfect. And it says in Isaiah 55:8, for your thoughts are not my thoughts. That's why when we are faced with many thoughts running in our mind, decisions to make, things to prioritize, prayer helps us to ask Jesus, Jesus, are my thoughts true? Are they good? Do I build my thoughts with hope in the future? Do I look and think of others with mercy, like you? Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to question your thoughts with Jesus. Because perhaps how we understand ourselves, how we think of others, of the situations that we're thinking or experiencing, perhaps it's so different from what He understands. So don't be afraid to question your thoughts with Him. and allow Jesus to touch your mind with His words of hope and compassion. Sometimes our minds are very crowded or clouded and bombarded with many negative things, with many worries, with many what ifs, with many just in case. But in this prayer, learn how to rest your mind in Him. Rest your mind in Him. And allow Him to give you that peace of mind, that calm mind, no? In the Psalm 139 verse 2 it says, Lord, you have examined me and you know me. You know everything I do. From far away, you understand all my thoughts. Even if sometimes I could not understand my thoughts, you understand them. He knows our mind, and He desires that we can have that healthy mindset so that, like Him, we can really live as a person who God wants us to be. So in this time of prayer, let us ask the Holy Spirit to guide us, to be aware of the thinking traps that we have. Let us also ask Jesus to transform our mindset into His and to help us to take care of our mind so that like Him, we can only do what is good and pleasing. Because again, we have to be careful who we become, who we think we are.
So, in this time of prayer, I invite you to ponder on these questions. What are my thoughts that I have in this time of pandemic? How does it affect my feelings and behavior? Am I aware of the thinking traps that I have? What are my experiences? Was I able to overcome them? And also, I invite you to read Matthew 12 verses 1 to 8. What is God's invitation for me in prayer? What did you discover about Jesus' way of thinking that you want to imitate?
my name, remind me who I am. In the mirror all I see is who I don't wanna be. Remind me who I am. In the loneliest places, when I can't remember what grace is. Tell me once again who I am to you, who I am to you. Tell me lest I forget who I am to you, that I belong to you. To you. When the heart is like a stone and I'm running far from home, remind me who I am. When I can't receive your love, afraid I'll never be enough, remind me who I am. If I'm your beloved, can you help me believe it? Tell me once again who I am to you, who I am to you. Whoa. Tell me lest I forget who I am to you, that I belong to you. To you. I'm the one you love. I'm the one you love. That will be enough. I'm the one you love. Tell me once again who I am to you, who I am to you. Tell me lest I forget who I am to you, that I belong to you.